Chat, episode 24. I'm your host, Neofant, and with me as always is my longtime podcasting partner, AngryBlackManta.
Happy holidays. I guess I can say that now that it's officially December 1st.
Exactly. It's the first day of December. We haven't recorded a podcast since all the way back in actually I think October with our Venom discussion, and a lot of things have kind of happened since then. So for this episode, we're planning to just kind of do a quick rundown of some news and some interesting tidbits that we've heard along the way. So we're going to be doing a kind of like a lightning round of different topics. So I'll detail them all in the description of the episode, but for now, I've already told Black Manta what we're going to be talking about. So the first thing that I kind of want us to get into is the recent social media embargo and release of the impressions of Aquaman. So a bunch of people have seen it. What do you think of the social media impressions so far?
Well, every time a DC movie comes out, I don't know, I get very protective of Man of Steel and Batman v Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's going to be so much mud slung at them. But yeah, it's been overwhelmingly positive, I think. There's been a lot of talk about this is, exactly what DC needed. It's the same thing that they said with Wonder Woman. A lot of good reports. It's basically very fun. That's the word that's been, I guess, spammed everywhere. It's fun.
Exactly. At the very least, we know that for everyone who is posting and has seen it, it's been overwhelmingly positive. They've been using the words fun. Like, we're not exactly sure what they mean by that, but at the same time, it is kind of nice to know that they're being entertained, that they're kind of like at least having a good time. Do you think that's necessarily a positive thing considering what's happened before?
I don't know. It depends on like what your experience is like with the DC movies. Because if you're like a fan like me who's really into the DCEU and is really pleased with the first couple installations of it, then the word fun has kind of become like this taboo word almost. It's really weird how fun has just been, the word itself has just been kind of, I don't know, the meaning I think has been defined I guess the meaning has been confined. And what I mean by that is fun for me is not particularly, it's not exactly, just laughing the entire time. But I find fun in good action scenes and having big emotional big crescendos and decrescendos of emotion. Like Man of Steel, I think that's a very fun movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think watching Batman in his warehouse scene is fun. Not necessarily what's been kind of defined as now with I don't want to bring up Marvel, but with Marvel movies, they're considered fun, because they're funny and you don't have to take them too seriously.
For sure, I get what you mean. It's all about fun being used to kind of like it's satisfying what the audience or what these fans and bloggers are expecting. It's like they're kind of enjoying themselves. It's not necessarily like a point of like it's very funny or it's very humorous. It's more of like, oh, they're getting exactly what they expected. And that kind of gives me a little trepidation because I feel that with a lot of the previous DC movies, they've had their enjoyable moments. They've had their moments of like contemplation and seriousness. And while I wouldn't necessarily say they were fun, I definitely would say they were very enjoyable and very poignant and powerful to a certain extent. So it feels weird when, as a DC fan, and I completely agree with you there, it's kind of worrisome to hear that it seems like Aquaman is essentially appealing to those people who had earlier decried the prior movies. And if you're a fan of those first two movies, you might not necessarily feel like you would enjoy this upcoming movie.
Yeah, and it's just like the with the current state of film criticism, it's become very shallow. And so when you hear people say that, or when you see certain critics saying, "Oh, it was perfect. It was exactly what we needed," it's kind of a sign of, well, maybe it's actually the exact opposite of what we wanted or needed. So from that angle, it's I don't want to be negative, but I am very cautious and very wary of Aquaman at the moment.
For sure. And right now, we're only looking at the social media impressions. We're not necessarily looking at the reviews, because that's when the critics and
Yeah,
the reviewers really get to kind of like write down in so many words their complete thoughts. Right now, it's a very like they're only allowed to only be able to say a couple of quick sentences. So, of course, that's
yeah,
not gonna give it the entire picture of what they think about the movie.
yeah. No, not at all. It's just like I said. There's a few certain people that we that that you recognize, and when they say something, it's like
Mm-hmm.
and kind of I know. But yeah, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. As far as from the fan angle of social media, I don't know. It's been kind of a backlash.
Okay, I'm not super aware of that, but I do get what you mean. Like, a lot of people are kind of like are saying that WB is now like making movies that are going to be catering to those same people who hated on Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. That they're part of the reason why we got Justice League the way that it was. Even though I think we can admit that it's enjoyable in some parts, but definitely not in some other ways. So right now we're just not sure
Yeah,
what kind of direction WB is going towards, if they're ever going to go back to the kind of more serious tone that were in the last two movies, or were in the first two installments.
yeah.
For sure. So let's quickly move on from there to our second topic, which is since the last time we've recorded, we've gotten the full cast list for the upcoming Birds of Prey movie, directed by Kathy Yan, starring Margot Robbie. We now know all the different people who are going to be involved playing key roles in the picture, and we also got a full-length title. And Black Manta, I was wondering if you happen to, right off the top of your head, remember what the full name of Birds of Prey is going to be.
I don't. It's Birds of Prey. The fantabulous is it? Oh, wait. It's the fantabulous emancipation of Harley Quinn,
Exactly. It's Birds of
right?
Prey, yep, Birds of Prey, parentheses, and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn, close parentheses.
Oh, too
Yeah.
late. All.
Mm-hmm. It's quite a mouthful, and if you were to abbreviate it, it doesn't make for like a particularly like easy to remember acronym or idiom. But at the same time, like what do you think of that? Do you kind of have an idea of what the movie is kind of going towards to with that kind of title?
It's almost as if they should have just left it at Birds of Prey. It would have been easier.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
But I mean, it's not. We don't know exactly know what kind of movie Birds of Prey is going to be. We do kind of get an idea that it's going to be R rated. We do know that Harley Quinn is going to be like a major player. She's pretty much a star of the movie,
oh,
especially
really?
with Margot Robbie star on the rise. Like we don't necessarily know if she's creating the Birds of Prey or if she's joining like the currently established team, but we do know that Margot Robbie is like is a producer and like top billing, right? So
Yeah. So I think she's producer, top billing. She might have a story credit. Yeah, her name's it's basically Margot Robbie's movie. So we talked about this on the sub a little bit, and I feel like a dick because like the first three topics like I'm not like positive about. But with Birds of Prey, it's just too much. And what my whole side of it was that Harley Quinn isn't part of the Birds of Prey to begin with. So I'm not a fan of her being put in this movie or her being part of this movie to begin with.
mm-hmm.
I think they should have stuck with Gotham City Sirens. And as far as I know, I feel like it's kind of, I feel like this should be two different movies because we've heard that the story is going to be about helping Cassandra Cain, and but now like it's like
Mm-hmm.
seems to be entirely about Harley.
Yeah.
So it feels like two different movies, and I'd rather just have a pretty straightforward, Birds of Prey movie, helping the kid, and then Harley could have her own movie.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Birds of Prey in the comics has been established as a team that never really included Harley Quinn. It was always comprised of Huntress, Black Canary, few different other members who are also bird themed. There's like Lady Blackhawk, Poison Ivy. I think
Yeah.
was part of the New 52 incarnation. Who else? Was there a Batgirl?
Oracle.
Oh yeah, Oracle's
Of
the
course.
major one. Yeah, of course. I think those are the three keys.
And yeah. So it's just like I think Zatanna was in there at some point,
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah, it's I don't think what's that?
I agree with you. I believe it was either Katana was a member at one point as well, or
I think
Zatanna.
both of them.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's they're like a group of heroes. That's what they are. They're a group of heroes, and it's kind of like Oracle bringing her friends together and creating a team, and it's just so weird that Harley Quinn is in there. Like I like the character, but we've just been like bombarded with so much Harley Quinn stuff. Like I think I started noticing it with the Injustice comic books. She would just be everywhere in them, and then now with like Injustice, I think Injustice 2, she's just like front and center. She's like the main part of the story. From what I could tell, I only read the full issues, but she's right in there with Superman and Batman.
Oh, I keep up with the Injustice comics, and it recently ended, and I don't necessarily agree with you there. She wasn't a huge player in the Injustice 2 comics. I do kind of agree that she is like front and center in a lot of the comics, but for the most part, at least within the comics pages itself, it's primarily about Superman and Batman fighting each other because of the situation that happens in the first in the first game. But yeah, I mean, I do agree with you there.
Yeah,
Harley Quinn is still a huge name. She's got her own comic line. She's got an animated series coming out from DC Universe sometime late next year. She's super marketable. A lot of people really like her. I kind of do get that Birds of Prey, because Oracle is not going to be a part of the team, because Barbara Gordon, who after her brush with the Joker is kind of left in a wheelchair, she kind of forms her own superhero team in the aftermath. It feels weird having a movie without her apparently being part of it.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. Yeah, and so like just with like Birds of Prey as a whole, I started out very excited, and now I'm just kind of with like every piece of news that we get with it, it's just kind of like, whatever. I'll just I'll see it when it comes out. I'm not gonna really follow the news. I don't really have any high expectations, but yeah. Long story short, not a fan of the title.
Not a big fan of the title, but are you a fan of the new actresses who have come to comprise the rest of the team? We've got Journey Smollett Bell. I don't know if I'm necessarily pronouncing her name correctly, as Dinah Lance / Black Canary. We've got the somewhat of a genre fan favorite Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Helena Bertinelli / The Huntress. We've got famous actress Rosie Perez as Renee Montoya, and we've even got a young lady, pretty much fresh off like acting school or whatever, Ella J. Basco as Cassandra Cain.
Yeah, Zuko's niece. So yeah, it's kind of like I think I'm happy with just like two of the choices, Ewan McGregor and Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Okay.
Neither of them can do any wrong in my eyes. Well, I mean, aside from affairs, but we're not talking about that.
Yeah, no worries. I'm glad you brought it up, because yeah, we were all pretty hyped for Black Mass, the villain who was supposed to be in the movie being played by Ewan McGregor. He's been a fan favorite of ours for so long. He was Obi-Wan in the Star Wars prequels. He was in movies like Moulin Rouge and Trainspotting. He's been pretty active. He was in Fargo. That's how he met Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and that's how they ended up dating during the process of that show. Recently, he was in that Christopher Robin movie, which I haven't seen, but I've heard was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so honestly, I'm just really liking the cast. Yeah.
I mean, Mary Elizabeth Winstead is amazing too, like as an actress, and she's gorgeous, and yeah. I think she's actually my pick for Zatanna. I think she would have been perfect. I know a lot of people like Alexandra Daddario, but I've never really. I mean, she's stunning, but I've never really liked her as an actor. I know everyone likes her for Zatanna, but yeah, was my Mary Elizabeth was my pick for Zatanna. The rest of the casting is just like I don't know them. I don't know any of their work. Who was
Rosie Perez?
No, I don't
the
know
name?
her.
Yeah, she's been around for a long time. She was most famously in a bunch of Spike Lee movies. She was in Pineapple Express. I remember seeing her there. She was in The Road to El Dorado. It's one of the main characters.
Never seen.
You never seen that? Okay.
I know it's terrible. I know it's terrible. Like, but yeah, I've never seen that. I plan.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. I think like yeah, I was also pretty vocal about the Black Canary casting, because yeah, with the race bending, I'm just usually not a fan of it in general.
Okay.
It doesn't, yeah, and it doesn't help that I don't know the actress. So yeah.
I think she looks pretty great. I mean, if she knows the martial arts and she can do like the Sonic Scream, or if her character is even like gonna have similar story elements to who she is in the comics, like I'm looking forward to seeing how she does in the movie.
Yeah. I mean, she looks the part. It's just, yeah, I just on principle I'm not a fan of race bending, but yeah, I'm sure she's a a good actor and everything. So.
Okay, well that's cool. And are you looking forward to hearing more news and behind the scenes stuff from Birds of Prey as it starts filming early next year?
Not really. No. I won't lie. I'll be honest. Not really at all. I'm just interested in seeing the costumes, especially Black Mask.
For sure, yeah. For me as well. I've not the biggest reader of the Birds of Prey comic, but I am interested to see what kind of movie they can make, especially when it's R-rated and it's more of like about a female team of superheroes. It'll be pretty unique for the most part. So at the very least, like I'm gonna definitely keep an eye on whatever's happening there, especially as it seems like 2020 for WB movies and for the DC universe is going to be primarily female based, as long as so far as we got Birds of Prey in February of 2020 and then Wonder Woman 1984 in June.
Okay, yeah, that did get pushed back in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can just like, I think we mentioned that from a previous discussion, but we'll have to wait until it sucks having to wait past November of next year for that movie.
Do we have anything next year?
No.
Yeah, we have Shazam.
Well, yeah, we have Shazam and we have the Joker, which is the Todd Phillips movie, but it's kind of separate from the DCEU. So there is currently nothing, for the November slate. But yeah, we'll get back to that later, because I want to talk about the third topic in our little lightning round, which is since our last discussion, within the span of this week, like literally within this week, we've had reports that WB is apparently interested in making 2 more movies on DC characters. The first one being Blue Beetle, and the second one being Zatanna, as you had previously mentioned. And I was wondering, do you think like those rumors or those news are actually valid? Do you think we are going to hear more about either of those movies in the future, or do you think those are just so far away from the current development slate that it's kind of ridiculous that we're hearing about them now?
I don't know how valid the rumors are, because I actually haven't seen this bit of news. This was except for the Blue Beetle one. Both of them, but yeah, in general, both of these movies are pretty new to me. I didn't know they were being developed. The thing is, both of these characters are awesome, and everyone loves them. I especially love Zatanna. She's one of my favorite female comic book characters. But I don't think anyone cares, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
Because we have so many films in development for DC. We have the Batman, we have Shazam, we have the Flash, we have maybe Cyborg. We're not sure.
We're not sure about that one. Yeah. Maybe Deathstroke.
Yeah, Deathstroke was I was listening to an interview with Joe Manganiello, and he was getting a writing credit because he was doing so much writing for Deathstroke. He was training and everything, and Gareth, not Evans. Is it Gareth Evans?
Yeah, Gareth Evans is the raid director.
Yeah, I get him mixed up with Gareth
Edwards.
Rogue One Gareth.
Rogue One, yeah.
But yeah, that was being developed, and that looks pretty solid, and now it's kind of dropped off the map. So we have all these movies being developed that people really want to see, with maybe the core, I guess maybe the core Justice League members, that people are really thirsting for, and we're not getting them. And I'd much rather see those movies developed first before we see characters that aren't well known outside of comic book fans.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. Like, we need to have those core Justice League members to like to know that their movies are continually being made as well. Like, I don't see why we couldn't find like a director or a solid directing and writing team to help continue making Superman, Batman, maybe Aquaman movies, maybe that Flash movie whenever that comes out, hopefully sometime in the next couple of years. As long as we know that those movies are being made in conjunction with what WB is doing beyond expanding like their roster of characters to be introduced in the film universe, then I'd be more comfortable with that. But now it kind of seems like those core characters are being kind of pushed to the wayside for all these different characters. And part of me is like, okay, I can kind of understand that WB for like the last few decades have been pretty much been making nothing but Superman and Batman movies, and they need to kind of move on, diversify, have new characters that people can latch on to and really appreciate. So on the one hand, I kind of get that we've already seen so many Batman movies, we've already seen so many Superman movies. Now it's a time to let Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash, Birds of Prey, let all those characters shine. But at the same time, it's hard to know. It's hard to still be kind of like. It's hard to still have that same sense of anticipation and excitement for those upcoming movies if we don't know that those core that core following of like heart of characters that we've known and loved for so many years aren't also being put into the mix.
Yeah, I really don't understand what the problem is. Yes, we have to acknowledge that making movies is surprising, and this might be a surprise to some people, but it's one of the hardest things you can do. You know, being a director is one of the hardest jobs that I've ever heard of. It's a huge process. And it's like kind of baffling to think about people undertaking it, but at the same time, it can't be this. I mean, because Flash has been pushed back like 4 years or something. It's so bizarre. And yeah, and it's just like, and as fans, we're sitting here worrying about whether we can hold on to these amazing names that have been attached to these characters. For just the Batman, we have Ben Affleck, J.K. Simmons,
Jeremy Irons.
Yeah, Jeremy Irons. Oh my gosh.
And Matt Reeves, right? Is
Matt
that
Reeves.
Of? Yeah, exactly.
Reeves.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to read. Yeah, you have like this huge stacked cast for Batman, and we have like who is I'll go ahead and say the best Batman and Alfred that we've ever seen on screen, and it's just like we could have no. So I'd much rather DC focus on what they've already promised, like 5 years back, and work on get those out, and then once those come out, like once the Flash and Cyborg are coming out, then give us news about Blue Beetle and Zatanna and these other movies.
Exactly. Like it'd be nice to maybe get an idea of what WB is planning on, but because of the last couple of years and how contentious it has been for these movies to come out and get the kind of like reaction that they got from fans, it's kind of tricky. But yeah, I absolutely 100% agree with you. We need to kind of like see those films being made at the same time. I kind of do feel like DC will never be able to really like fully show how powerful the cinematic universe is, or like how prestigious or how prominent it can be in the world, or like overall if they can't like at least release 2 or 3 movies every year, for example. I get that you don't want to rush things, you want to make sure that every film team gets the amount of time that they need, but at the same time there's got to be some sort of plan in place. And right now we're kind of at a stage where we're not sure if there's going to be anything beyond the next couple of years, and we don't know what else is being made in conjunction. So it feels like we're kind of missing out on a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't know how you feel about slates. I'm actually really against release slates. Like just showing just like, oh, we're doing this movie, this movie, this movie, this movie, because it ends up biting you in the butt, like with Infinity War, because it saps all of the dramatic tension out of it. Because we know Spider-Man and Black Panther and all these characters are coming back. I mean, not just because that's what Marvel does, they can't kill a character, but their movies are being made, and we're getting news on their movies being made. It's ridiculous, but at the same time, I don't want to slate, but all I need is really just to see some headway with these movies, just some news.
Exactly, for sure. That's pretty much all we can kind of say about those. It's quite a discussion that we got to just from talking about a possible Blue Beetle and Zatanna film. I'm looking forward to them if they ever were to get made, and it'll be pretty cool to see much further down the line after a bunch of other DCEU movies. But we can move on from there to another kind of like DC related thing that's not necessarily part of the movies, but a lot of people have been kind of exclaiming is either has some sort of inspiration or could be integrated someday into the DCU, and that's the current streaming service DC Universe's show Titans. And I know we had talked before. You've only seen a couple of episodes. I'm a little bit further ahead, but I'm gonna say right off the bat, I really enjoy Titans.
Yeah. Now we can get to the positive news. Yeah, I won't say like a huge fan of Titans. But yeah, I'm really pleased with what we've seen so far. I'm only on episode 2, so that was Hawk and Dove.
Yeah.
Or maybe.
Yeah. So Hawk and Dove was episode 2. Episode 3 was. What was that one about? Oh no, that was like mostly Starfire meeting Raven. Oh, sorry, I didn't want to spoil that for you. But Starfire eventually joins the team.
Yeah, I know they meet. But yeah, I haven't seen anything besides Hawk and Dove because I haven't seen the aftermath of that. Even though I know that the characters are coming back.
Oh yeah.
Which I'm super happy about.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would say that like I was moderately pleased with the first episode, but I was extremely pleased with Hawk and Dove.
Exactly, same here. I thought the first episode was okay. The pilot, the way that they kind of introduce all the main players, getting an idea of like where everyone is. It's because everyone was kind of like in their own kind of like separate storyline. It was hard to kind of like keep track of when do you think that these characters will meet each other, but eventually we do find out that, and this is kind of just from the first episode, that Raven, the girl who's eventually going to become Raven, kind of ends up under the custody of Dick Grayson, who is at that time a police detective, and that's how they first meet up.
Yeah, I'm really happy with Brenton Thwaites as Dick Grayson. I've never been a fan of the actors, because the only things I've seen him in is Pirates and then
Gods of Egypt. Did you watch Gods of Egypt? Yeah.
Neither of those movies are great indicators.
Yeah.
Nobody comes out looking good out of those movies, but yeah, I'm really pleased with him as Robin. I'm loving the heavy Snyder influence with the fight scenes and some of the tone.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's not just that first F word that kind of gets uttered in the trailer. It's not just like the slightly darker cinematography. It's not just the amount of violence that the show can like portray, but there's definitely a sense that this is not your comics Teen Titans. This is not the cartoons Teen Titans. This is kind of like the Titans as they would be in our world, essentially. Like they're dealing with some like heavy subject matter. There's some really messed up things that happen in the first and the second episode. The violence, I will admit, is a little bit gratuitous, but at the same time, it makes sense considering that if they were to happen in real life, it would kind of end up looking like that. A lot of bad guys get hurt in the in the violence, and I think not to say too much, but things only get crazier from there beyond episode 2.
Yeah, it feels like this is a universe where Watchmen would be completely at home with. I wouldn't be surprised if, Dick Grayson ran into Night Owl at some point. That's just what it feels like. It just feels like it goes very well together. Some of the violence is gratuitous, but yeah, it feels like, like you said, like it feels realistic. And that's one of the things I like about the way that Snyder has depicted fighting bad guys, villains. They don't just go down with one punch. You have to put them down, incapacitate them. So I do appreciate that, and but I also do appreciate like the just the lived-in world it has, like with Hawk. He's only like in his 30s, but he's basically he has the body of like a veteran MMA fighter, basically, or a soldier. He's broken down.
Yeah, for sure, exactly. Like, Hawk is extremely like very comic accurate. Dove was absolutely perfect. She's played by Minka Kelly, who I think we both agree is quite the lovely actress. I really like the actress who plays Rachel or Raven. I think she's probably one of like the best like younger actresses in a comic book show right now. And there are some scenes, especially in the first episode, where you can see her darker side kind of manifest in different ways. Like, her story is really interesting. I'm starting to really like Starfire. I don't know how you feel about her character so far, because she hasn't done too much from where you're at, but later on she is definitely more fleshed out.
So I'm still not a fan of the look, but holy crap, Anna Diop is one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen, and she's perfect. She played what she was given perfectly. I've never been a fan of sexualizing Starfire. It's just like she's such an easy target for it. It's like way too obvious, and she's more of a character. She has more to her, more going on for her than that. So I'm not too happy with like just that's how she kind of starts out. Is she's not in the best place. She's kind of sleeping around, and it's weird. But yeah, it makes sense within the context. But yeah, I think she's being played wonderfully. I wasn't a huge fan of Rachel. I'm just not a fan of kid actors in general. But she's not. I don't think she takes anything away from the show. So I don't have any problems as far as that. And I'm like you said, I'm not too far into the show, so she might have some scenes that really sway me. Yeah, Minka Kelly's perfect. Alan Richardson is perfect. Actually, there's a funny story about him.
Okay, yeah.
So I was listening to the Chris Hardwick podcast, and I can't remember which guest it was that was on, but they mentioned that they were all playing poker at someone's house, and Alan Richardson was there, and he wasn't like Chris Hardwick didn't name him. He didn't name him Alan Richardson, but he gave enough hints that I was like, oh, it's Alan Richardson. He played Aquaman in Smallville.
Yeah.
But apparently he was super, super close to being Shazam.
Oh wow!
Like,
okay.
Yeah, like he said, like I did auditions, and I made this like I think he said like the last 3, as far as casting, but someone else got it, but he said, but I do have something else with DC coming up. Yeah, I think this was like 6 months or something, maybe 8 months ago.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. So, yeah, I'd never heard that. So, a lot of people did want Alan Richardson to be Shazam, because he's definitely got the body for it. He's definitely, like, pretty cool looking to play the character. But at the same time, I'm also really glad that he's still with DC and that he's playing Hawk. So,
yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah. I think he landed a better role for him.
Exactly. So, is there anything else that you wanted to say about Titans before we move on to our next topic, which I think will take up a good portion of our recording, just because I think we both have a lot of like strong things to say about the next topic?
No, I don't have anything else. Let's get to it.
Okay. So the last thing that I kind of wanted to talk about was over Thanksgiving, and this is American Thanksgiving because we have our Thanksgiving in October, so I have no idea why you guys have yours so much later in the year. But I don't know if you keep up with the VERO posts or with VERO. Do you still keep up with your VERO account?
Not as much, but I've been getting more into it in like the last 2 weeks. But I did miss the first one, but I didn't miss the art. I guess the art one.
Okay, so yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. So the first thing that we saw from Zack Snyder, because VERO is pretty much the main reason why I am on that service in the first place, just to kind of like keep up with his posts and to maybe do some likes and comments. But he had posted a video of a really cool like pan shot, or like a zoom in pan shot towards a turkey, and the turkey had on the thermometer 120 degrees, and the caption below that picture or below the video was an hour more at least. And you could interpret that in so many ways, but it could just be something innocuous. It's like, oh, the turkey's not ready yet because it needs to be warmed a little bit more. It is a really nice looking turkey, and turkeys are delicious. But a lot of people were
That
suggesting that turkey did look pretty done, but the with the caption, it's kind of a lot of us are thinking it might be some sort of like reference to Justice League. How Justice League, the theatrical version, had when it came out was only 120 minutes or exactly 2 hours, and Zack Snyder is kind of hinting that whatever he's suggesting is supposed to be an hour more.
It's so funny. Just like when you said that, just I realized just how ridiculous it might sound to people who aren't fans. They're just like, is this a Justice League reference with a turkey?
Well, I have no idea. It could be, it might not be, but it's definitely something to think about because I think it was like literally the very next day we got another VERO post from Zack Snyder, and this one is far more. It's definitely more ominous sounding. It could definitely mean a lot of things, but the picture that he shows is some sort of wall fresco or wall painting, and on that painting is what looks pretty much obviously to be the only Darkseid.
Yes. To answer your first question, yes, I do think that turkey was a reference. But yeah, holy crap, Darkseid. We already got the art, didn't we? Like the concept art for Darkseid released, and now we have like an actual set picture of a Darkseid mosaic.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a picture. It's like a wall picture. There's some like ancient Greek that I from what I've seen from people translating on Twitter is some sort of reference to a Darkseid killer, apocalypse bringer, or something like that, which is really cool. But I also forgot to mention that there was a caption below the picture, and it was "A bell can't be unrung," and I have no idea what that means.
Well, it's reference to Batman v Superman with Flex saying, the bell cannot be unrung. But holy crap, like, we knew that this movie had been gutted, like, quite thoroughly, but holy crap, like, it just keeps going further. Like, like, the whole scene was cut out. There's so many, like, intricacies and so many details in what Zach was doing. But all of it just got tossed to the side. Like it's some pretty amazing deep lore as well.
So far, we've heard about a longer history sequence. We've heard about a completely cut subplot involving the military that was supposed to be in Justice League. We've heard about a longer story involving the Mother Box and how the three Mother Boxes were supposed to play like a much different role than what we got in the final movie. We've heard about how Cyborg was supposed to have a lot more scenes with him learning how to fly. He was supposed to be the emotional core of Justice League, and it is kind of disconcerting to hear that we could have had a lot of that, but for some reason or the other, it all got cut out. Instead, we've got a 2-hour movie, one that I personally enjoy, but one that I definitely can tell was not what the original intention of that film was supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I can't enjoy Justice League because I do have a good time with it. When I'm watching it, there's those things that stick out, like the color or obviously Superman or some of the visual effects. But for the most part, I can sit through it and like have a good old time. But it's only when I start thinking about it, and when I start thinking about well, this scene should be here, or there should have been this and this in here. That's when I actually start to get angry. But yeah, it's not like I can't enjoy it, but yeah, it's just
it doesn't feel like you can really appreciate it because we want that original intention. We want to see what the original version of the film was supposed to be. We want to see what the continuation of Man of Steel and Batman v Superman was originally supposed to be. I want to have in my mind this absolutely amazing trilogy of films that have a really strong beginning, middle, and end, and instead we got a beginning, a middle, and then some sort of rehash or some sort of new beginning or some sort of indication of what the tone is going to be in the future, but it doesn't feel like a continuation of the previous two movies, and that's the biggest shame of all.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand some of this stuff because we did get pictures, concept concept art of the parademons stringing up humans. And we had like it was like a picture of Batman on like a platform, and there was like bodies hung underneath him. So like I understand why they wanted to get rid of some of the darker stuff, but just some of this really amazing material that involves Darkseid and the history lesson. It baffles me. Why would they take out Ares? The actor that the stunt actor for Ares, or the body actor for Ares, posted a picture, and it was the same costume that was originally intended for the Wonder Woman movie, with the skull on his head, and the furs. And it's like, and he was supposed to apparently fight Steppenwolf, and it's just so weird that they take out some of that stuff, stuff that doesn't really go against what they wanted to do, the direction that they wanted to go in. Just so much was just cut out.
Exactly, but I think that kind of really exemplifies why we want to see the original version. We want to see what many have affectionately called the Snyder Cut. We all want to see what it's supposed to be, and here is like kind of a hint that maybe Zack Snyder is telling us not only does it exist, not only should it have been originally been an hour longer, but that because the bell can't be unrung, it could mean a lot of things. It could mean that something's going to happen in the future that will lead to its release. Something in the future will happen that will not be able to let it get released, but people are still going to fight for it anyways. It could mean a lot of things, but it's honestly like in many ways one of the first few indications that we get that Zack Snyder himself is aware of what we're all looking for and what we're hoping for, and is trying to give hints that yes, it does exist, and that we should continue to fight for it. Do you kind of agree with me there?
Well, I absolutely agree with it. He actually said a couple months ago, he said, keep the faith or something in regards to the Snyder Cut. I can't remember what exactly he said. It was like, keep the faith or maintain the faith or something. But he definitely knows, of course he knows about the movement, and he definitely supports it because he keeps dropping this like amazing tidbits. But we have confirmation from the cast and from the crew and everyone except for WB themselves.
It doesn't seem like they've given us any indication that they will or will not release it. They've not given us any indication that there's going to be anything moving on, any sort of movement from that angle.
I have no doubt that it's going to get released, and I think it's going to be soon, within the next year. I think it's going to be released. And whether that means officially or leaked and then officially, I don't care which. I think it's going to get released anyway. Some way, some form, it's going to be released. And I think it's also necessary to remind people that we don't like, as fans of and supporters of the release of Snyder Cut, it's not, we're not talking about like a fully realized movie, with completely and finished and perfected. Even if it's just kind of like an assembly cut, that's just what fans are asking for. It's just some artistic integrity.
Exactly. Like I kind of agree with you there. I don't know if WB is going to spend all the money to actually finish what the original version of the movie was supposed to be, but if they can release to us like that version that was screened to like industry people, or that people who had apparently like what the original intention of that film was supposed to be, or what the film was at before Zack Snyder had left sometime last year after family tragedies, and we could kind of see what was supposed to be originally there. I think that would be fine enough. I don't necessarily think we would get a fully completed version, but I do think that it's up to us as fans that if we wanted to, we could probably work on it ourselves. As long as we have the footage, we can complete it ourselves. In many ways.
I mean, we see people doing. Sorry.
No. Yeah.
We see people doing it all the time on Twitter. People are assembling their own Justice League cuts, and they're doing it whether or not they have the material. I mean, some of them are adding some stuff from Batman v Superman, and they're editing it in flawlessly, and I've seen some pretty amazing cuts. I think the visual effects a lot of it was done, because a lot of the footage we've seen has been finished stuff, like the Flash saving Iris. that looked pretty much done. um, they start working on visual effects as soon as it's been shot. It gets sent right to the company, and they start editing it, and they start doing the effects. So I think it's a lot further on than a lot of people think. Especially a lot of naysayers. They
Oh yeah, definitely.
They think like it's like, oh, none of the visual effects are done. It's like, no, they worked on it.
Mm-hmm. Or they say that it doesn't exist anymore, or that they completely like got rid of it when they released the theatrical version. Or they'll say a lot of things to try to downplay the fact that it does exist. The fans just want to see some sort of release for it, maybe some sort of official release, maybe some sort of incomplete version of it released. But yeah, it's weird that there's been so much downplay and like negativity brought to the movement, and it's weird that a lot of people still don't necessarily believe it. Some people are really irritated that there are constantly articles being written about it all the time, but that only makes the movement stronger because it gets more people's attention, and when they realize what happened, yeah, it just makes us, and I'll admit I'm a pretty big release the Snyder Cut supporter myself. It makes us more determined to eventually get it to realize, to get WB to realize that they made a mistake when they had released what we know as Justice League, and to eventually release that official version. But yeah.
Yeah, and it goes beyond just this movie. It's for we can talk about it with Fantastic Beasts, but I've seen similar treatment for that and for Venom, where it's clear that a lot of stuff has been cut just to make the movie shorter. A lot of story is being chopped up, and a lot of writing seems to be being chopped up. But yeah, it's all about artistic integrity, for really just being able to make your own art and to put it out there.
Mm-hmm, exactly. So I did have 3 questions I wanted to ask you, and you kind of already answered one of them, being whether you think that we'll get a complete or incomplete version of the Snyder Cut someday in the future. But the second question I wanted to ask you was, do you think that the movies that are going to be coming out, like Shazam and Aquaman and Wonder Woman 84, do you think they will reflect the continuity of the Snyder Cut, or do you think that they were going to be reflecting the continuity of the current Justice League movie?
I don't think that anything that's been going to be released, anything like any of the I can't talk today. Like, my brain is going way too fast for my mouth. I don't think any of the upcoming movies are going to mess with the continuity of the Snyder Cut, because I don't think there was anything too drastically different. I mean, there's a lot more material in the Snyder Cut than the theatrical release, but I don't think there's anything that's too different. I think the biggest one might be the New Gods. I think if any movie's gonna mess with continuity, it would be that one.
Okay. Do you think that the post-credit sequence that we got at Justice League, do you think that will continue on the future movies, or do you think that the original post-credit sequence or the original Lex Luthor Deathstroke sequence was always meant to be something different?
I think it was the same. Because it's very much Zack's work, and it's also very clearly Chris Terrio's writing, just the way of how Lex is talking. And we saw pictures of Zack with Joe Manganiello, so on the boat, so we know that he shot it. I don't think there was anything. I think it was pretty much how he filmed it.
Okay, because the rumor that I'd heard was that the hints towards Lex Luthor kind of forming a league of their own was something that wasn't part of the original Zack Snyder shot, and was apparently an addition from Joss Whedon.
If that's the case, then that's one of the only additions that I really appreciate.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And then the third question I wanted to ask you was, how do you think, if it were to get released, how do you think WB will release it? Will it get a theatrical release? Will it get a Blu-ray release? Will it come digitally only? Like, where do you think that at this point, assuming that WB were to release it, make an official release, do you think they're going to try to make the most money, or do you think they're going to try to get it out and done as fast as possible?
It depends on what kind of release that they want to do, because and as by release I mean whether they want to finish the production and clean it all up and get Junkie XL's score in there. I think that's what it depends on. I mean, because we have like a rough cut of the movie, and I think that would be something that they would release digitally. I don't see that being in theaters, but if it was finished, then definitely I think they would have a Ultimate Batman, a BVS Ultimate Edition kind of situation where they would play it in certain areas, in certain theaters around the country for a weekend, and then they would release it on digital, and then they would release it on Blu-ray.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping too. I would love to see it like theatrically, but if a Blu-ray is all we're gonna get, I'd be happy with that too. There's been a lot of really good movies recently that don't really get a full theatrical release and that eventually only come out on home media or streaming, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Part of me does hope that if WB did want to recoup as much money from what happened with Justice League as much as they can, they would try to go for the theatrical release. And that's why I was kind of hinting at, if there's nothing for November, would that not be a good time to kind of put in a full 3-hour Justice League movie?
Perfect. It'd be perfect. But here's a question for you.
Yes.
If it was a case where they only released it like theatrically in like in certain areas, would you travel to go see it?
Oh yeah, definitely. No, without question. I mean, if it was like only in like Los Angeles or London or New York, I would try to find my way to watch it. I'm actually kind of sad because I don't know if you know this about me, but I was a big fan of that Mowgli movie that was originally supposed to come out in theaters, but then kind of got bought by Netflix from WB to be a Netflix exclusive. Yeah,
the one that Andy Serkis directed.
Yeah, the one that Andy Serkis was supposed to make, and I was really tempted to think about flying out to go see it theatrically, because apparently they are gonna be doing theatrical runs for it in Los Angeles and London. That's why I named those two.
Wow.
Cities specifically. It's like, oh, I would definitely go, but I'm a little bit disappointed. Yeah, I mean, I was really hyped for that movie. I think that Mowgli trailer, that first one that we saw, is probably my favorite movie trailer of this year that I've seen. But at the same time, it's also easier just to kind of stay home and watch it on Netflix like next week, because it's coming out next week.
Yeah. I can understand that. But yeah, if they were to release it like in California, Los Angeles, I would definitely fly out to do it, see it.
Yeah, exactly. If it means going to your crazy United States of America, at this point, I would definitely fly down. But yeah, I think that about wraps it for our 24th episode of CBM Voice Chat. Is there anything else that you wanted to add before we close off for the night?
I don't think I got anything. Just the usual, like and subscribe, leave some comments, some feedback, tell us how we can improve, and check out our other content. We really want to get Harry Potter started back up again.
Yeah, we got to get those fantastic chats back up. We want to do our Crimes of Grindelwald podcast, because it's funny that you and I have very differing opinions on that film.
Yeah, I saw it a second time and it wasn't as bad, but I'm still pissed.
Okay, fair enough. Well, we'll say that for another topic. But yeah, as AngryBlackManta said, please like and subscribe. Give us a comment. If you can maybe ask us a question, we'd always be happy to maybe do like a little Q&A portion at the end of the episode, of upcoming episodes. If you're interested, we're always looking to see what we can do better, or what we should be able to try to do as podcasters. We've been doing this for over a year now, so I definitely want to try to improve on our speaking, our recording, our formatting, and everything. So hopefully when we get a good amount of content, I definitely want to put all of these audio files in an official podcasting RSS feed, so people can just download it on their phones and listen to it wherever, instead of just being on YouTube. But yeah, be pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a horrifying thought. People downloading something downloading me talking, you and me talking. Well, just, I don't know about you.
People actually, going out of their way to spend their time and their data just to kind of listen to us ramble on for nearly a good hour at this point. So
freaks me out.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. And once again, this has been episode 24 of CBM Voice Chat. I'm your host, Neofant, and with me, as always, was Angry Black Manta. And we just both wanted to say thank you for listening. Take care, guys, and we'll see you next time.